The cross in the conference room. What Luke 9:23-24 means for life and leadership. Imagine you're standing at a crossroads. One path looks like every success story you've ever heard, upward, paved with accolades, comfort, and control. The other is steeper, rougher, no guarantees. The signpost reads, "Follow me." You look again. It's Jesus, not just calling you to believe something, but to become someone. That's the scene behind Luke 9:23-24. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. This is not your typical leadership advice or motivational quote. This is a challenge to trade the illusion of control for a life of purpose. And if you're leading in any capacity, your family, a team, a company, a creative project, this invitation hits harder than most realize. Let's break it down, from the heart to the boardroom. Discipleship is the ultimate masterclass in leadership. In a culture obsessed with self-optimization, Jesus flips the script. You want to grow? Die to self. You want to lead? Follow? You want to find your life? Let go of it. Sounds backward, right? But that's the paradox of kingdom thinking. Jesus doesn't call you to a platform. He calls you to a cross. The word deny here isn't mild. It's radical. It's Peter denying Jesus at the fire, saying, "I don't know the man." That's the level of disowning we're talking about, not a tweak in behavior, but a total surrender of the ego, the agenda, the "I've got this" narrative we cling to in both life and business. Leadership, especially in business, often masquerades as self-elevation. Titles, territories, traction. But the best leaders don't climb over others. They carry the weight of responsibility like a cross. They show up daily. They sacrifice for the vision. They serve even when no one's watching. That's what Jesus modeled. Daily dying, the cost we don't want to pay. Let's not romanticize this. Taking up your cross isn't about wearing a Christian t-shirt to work or praying over your quarterly goals. It's dying daily. It's when you walk into a meeting knowing you could dominate, but you choose to listen deeply instead. It's when you're tempted to manipulate numbers for gain, but you risk transparency. It's when you feel like quitting on your marriage, your mission, your business, and you whisper, "Not my will, but yours." These moments are where real transformation happens. And here's the tension. The world rewards self-preservation. Jesus rewards self-surrender. That's the battlefield of the soul. And if we're honest, it's where most of us lose traction, not because we're not capable, but because we're unwilling to die to our own ambition long enough to see something eternal come alive in us. The lie of the life you're saving. Jesus said whoever tries to save their life will lose it. That's not just spiritual poetry. It's a diagnosis of how most people live. We save our lives by insulating them, avoiding hard conversations, chasing comfort, choosing reputation over righteousness. We build structures around our goals to protect our plans. We clutch tightly to the life we think we deserve. And we miss the life we were meant for. Professionally, this shows up in how we lead our teams. Are we protecting ourselves from failure, or are we investing in people at the cost of short-term wins? Are we avoiding risks that require faith? Are we sacrificing principles in the name of profits? When you hold your life too tightly, you don't just risk burnout, you risk irrelevance, Because the people who change the world are the ones willing to lose themselves in something bigger than themselves. Self-denial in the age of personal branding. Let's talk about the elephant in the LinkedIn feed. We're in an era where everything is about me, my story, my wins, my platform. Even vulnerability gets monetized. But Jesus doesn't invite you to amplify yourself. He invites you to become less so He can become more. That doesn't mean you abandon excellence or stop building. It means you redefine success. You lead from a place of rootedness, not restlessness. Your confidence isn't in your image. It's in your identity as someone shaped by the cross. The people you serve, employees, customers, and followers, don't need more polished personas. They need leaders who bleed integrity, who live what they preach, who will lose to do what's right. This isn't about hiding. It's about humbling. Cross-carrying looks like this. So, what does this look like on a Tuesday afternoon? You choose clarity over people-pleasing in a client call. You admit failure to your team without spin. You stay present with your spouse when the inbox is screaming. You take a day of rest when the hustle demands your loyalty. You hold your company's purpose higher than your personal gain. These are the unseen crosses, the daily deaths, the slow, sacred work of following Jesus, not just in prayer, but in practice. And yes, it will cost you. But what you lose in visibility, you gain in vision. What you give up in control, you gain in clarity. What you sacrifice in comfort, you receive back in calling. So what now? A call to lose boldly. If you want to lead like Jesus, love like Jesus, live like Jesus, start here. Deny yourself. Pick up your cross. Follow Him into the places your ego resists and your spirit longs for. Lose boldly. Lay it all down. Your timeline, your platform, your comfort. Not recklessly, but obediently. Because Jesus isn't asking you to be less you. He's inviting you to be the truest version of you. The one only found in the dying and rising again. That's where impact begins. That's where your leadership becomes legacy. So today, ask yourself, where am I protecting my life instead of pouring it out? What cross am I resisting because it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or invisible? What would it look like to lead with open hands instead of clenched fists? Because the invitation still stands, and it's not for the faint-hearted, it's for the surrendered. Whoever loses their life for my sake will save it. And maybe, just maybe, that's where real success begins.